Throughout my high school career, I've learned a plethora of life lessons from history's greatest philosophers. However, the one that stands out the most is not Robert Frost, Franklin Roosevelt, or even Gandhi, but rather a man by the name of Daniel Tosh. Now, for those of you who do not know Mr. Tosh, he is a comedian who has made great strides in the fields of television comedy. Whether you find him funny or not, I think everyone here can agree that Mr. Tosh has absolutely no fear of the public whatsoever. He has little to no concern for even the smallest of issues that he could think of, and whether he knows this or not, he has and still is changing the way in which we think about society. We are now questioning the status quo. What was once previously deemed as bad or morally wrong is now being deemed as acceptable. But what are the implications of these questions? For the past 3 years, I've been attending Freedom Shrine, and I've always admired the ability of students to stand up here on the stage and speak their part. However, I've always had one small problem with it. It was always really boring. In fact, many of you are probably falling asleep right now as I am speaking. Now, the reason why it is so boring is because no one, not a single person, questions the cause in which they are fighting for. For too long have we been blindly supporting causes without truly considering whether or not they are really just or unjust. Freedom Shrine provides the students with the opportunity to defy the status quo and speak out against injustices. So, why haven't we been doing that? Well, today, my friends, you are in luck, because today I'm going to be talking about what I believe is one of the most controversial issues within our society. And what is the biggest problem with our society, in my opinion, is Freedom Shrine. The idea of Freedom Shrine is good, but how we approach it is not so good. So today, I'm going to be talking about 3 different controversial issues, and I'm going to be attempting to explain their merits. In the end, it'll be up to you to decide whether or not they should be considered problems or catalysts for societal growth. First, we will talk about how music has evolved over the last few years. Then, we'll talk about how technology has become increasingly intertwined within our everyday lives, before finally talking about the root cause of evil within our society. But first, I think music is a very important topic to talk about because it has been infused within our everyday lives. I don't think there's a single person here that dislikes music. Whether it be classic rock, country, death metal, Zelda step, moombahton, or splittercore, everybody that has a genre that has touched them somehow. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and try to persuade you guys to like a certain style of music, as music is indeed subjective. However, I am going to ask you guys to try and understand certain styles of music. One genre that seems to be turning heads here at Wauseon High School is a genre that I like to call gangster rap, a genre that is notorious for its glorification of swearing, sex, drugs, and violence. I think everyone here would agree that the content of gangster rap is far less classy than, say, the content of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart or Joseph Haydn, which is exactly why figures like Tyga, A$AP Rocky, 2 Chainz, and even the Bass God are oftentimes criticized for the content within their tracks. Now, even though it is absolutely true that Bass God does indeed swag to the maximum, and Tyga is indeed faded, we see that many people still see them as incredibly inappropriate. Now, I'm not going to ask you guys to go out and do cocaine or get turned at a party next weekend. I'll assure you, your lives will probably be ruined. However, I don't believe gangster rap represents this. In fact, in my opinion, gangster rap doesn't represent doing drugs, acquiring currency, or disregarding females, but rather the opposite. Gangster rap is a representation of our generation. It represents freedom from a tightly restricted society that allows us to talk about these controversial issues without being condemned for them. In fact, I believe gangster rap, and I respect gangster rap's ability to be truthful about our generation without being condemned for it. That doesn't mean I'm going to go out and shoot up some heroin after listening to some Kendrick. What we don't realize is this same problem was prevalent in the last generation, and the generation before that, and the generation before that, and the generation before that. In the 1980s, it was heavy metal. In the 1950s, it was rock and roll. And in the 1920s, it was swing music. In fact, in the 1920s, swing music was actually demonized, the same way gangster rap is now. It was criticized for being devil's music, but not everybody who listened to swing was a Satanist, just as not everybody who listens to gangster rap is a womanizer. Again, I'm not asking you guys to go out and enjoy gangster rap. However, you may want to think twice before you consider it a threat to society. Now, another genre that seems to be turning heads here at Wauseon is a personal favorite of mine, known as electronic dance music, a genre that has been criticized for being talentless. It is claimed that EDM, as they call it in short, lacks the touch of real instruments that are prevalent in other genres of music. Now, if you think that way, shame on you, because as technology has become increasingly prevalent within our society, its abilities are limitless. With technology as my instrument, I can now make you feel feelings of happiness, euphoric, and uplifted, and make you feel uplifted. But as technology is my instrument, I can also make you feel sad and bring to you tears of despair. With technology as my instrument, I can make you mellow out to soft, blissful melodies. And as technology is my instrument, I can make you feel blown away by massive bass drops and screeching robotic synths. I could even make you guys twerk if I wanted to with electronic dance music. You see, the point is, as technology is its abilities are becoming increasingly limitless, EDM has a subgenre that seems to be right for everybody. That is exactly why people from Muslim countries, Christian countries, Jewish countries, countries of all different political backgrounds are flocking to these EDM festivals all around the world. So even if EDM is such a cheap and talentless genre of music, it's bringing people together, despite their differences, to enjoy the sounds and musics that EDM represents. So while some people see it as a cheap genre of music, other people see it as our generation's transcendence into the future. As the great Paul Van Dyk once said, dance music is for people who want tomorrow's music today. Now, as technology is becoming increasingly prevalent within our music, it is also becoming increasingly prevalent within our everyday lives as well. Now, I cannot begin to count how many times I've heard the growth of technology criticized over the last few years. I've heard it from teachers, family members, faculty members, my grandma. I've heard that technology will bring death to social interaction, that the growth of technology will bring an end to the old way of life as we know it. Yeah, that part is true. Technology will bring an end to the old way of life as we know it, whether we like it or not. And yes, there are downsides to technology, but what we don't realize is a lot of the problems that arise from technology aren't necessarily from technology, but rather the abuse of technology. You see, we don't innovate to cheat on our calculus test, or to distract us from our schoolwork, or to send those inappropriate text messages to our ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. But rather, we do it the opposite. We do it to improve the quality of our everyday lives. Without technology, it would be increasingly difficult for me to get to school every morning. It would be difficult for me to prepare my food in the morning. It'd be difficult for me to give you guys the morning announcements. It'd be difficult for me to play Clash every journalism class. Just kidding, I don't play Clash anymore, actually. But anyway, we see that the growth of technology actually is a very good thing. It's just that the abuse of technology is the bad aspect of it. We see that we are too quick to blame other things for our own problems, which is exactly why we blame technology rather than our own abuse of technology. And that can have some serious consequences, because the more we limit the growth of technology, the more we limit the opportunity for us to improve our everyday lives. Instead, we should be concentrating our efforts on limiting the abuse of technology. That way, we continue to crack down on these problems, while at the same time encouraging societal growth. But not only this, but I think we need to talk about what I believe is probably the most controversial issue in all of society. And that is, what is the root cause of all evil? Now, every time I seem to ask this question, I typically get the same response over and over and over again. The root cause of all evil within society is money. It is claimed that money brings about the desire for selfishness and greed and ultimately screws over the little guy. But let's stop and think about this for a second. Imagine a businessman that all he cares about is making money. He just wants to soak it up in a nice big hot tub while driving a Lamborghini. He's not going to intentionally poison his products, because then no one would buy his products. He's not going to make any money. In fact, he would actually do the opposite. He's now going to create high-quality goods and services so that way he could attract consumers away from his competition, so that way he can make money. Likewise, he's also going to reduce the prices on these high-quality goods and services once more to compete with his competition. He's not going to charge $10 for a gumball because then no one's going to buy his gumballs. He's not going to make any money. So in the end, that businessman is going to benefit because now he's going to become rich, while the poor person is going to benefit from high-quality products and services at a low price. Also, that same poor person may now have an employment opportunity from that very same businessman, because you need workers in order to create these high-quality products. Now you may be saying, but Brendan, this is morally wrong. Even though everybody benefits in the end, we see that still it is based off the desire for selfishness and greed. But what we don't realize is we use incentives in our everyday lives all the time. We see that money is simply an incentive to create these higher quality goods and services. And this is exactly why the first place runner in the race gets the gold medal instead of the last place medal. For example, Quentin Reiser, Taylor Vernat, you guys. Imagine if I came up to you and I said, let me take your first place trophy or first place medal and I'm going to give it to the last place person because he feels bad. Now, how would you respond to that? Now, you'd be like, I deserved this award because I worked hard in practice and I busted my butt throughout the entire race running as fast as I can. You see, that gold medal incentivized you to work hard and to get what you want. Is that necessarily so bad? Now, we see this is true on the macroeconomic level, but it's also true on the microeconomic level as well. We see that it is simply human nature for us to want to engage in voluntary trade. Money is simply a tool to make this trading process easier. And a lot of times this voluntary trade actually has a mutual benefit, because whenever a sale goes through, the seller who values making money over the product is ultimately going to end up with the money, so he benefits. The buyer, on the other hand, values the product over making money, so he's going to benefit in the end because he's going to end up with a product. So ultimately, everyone wins. Now, to me, I can't understand why that is such an evil process, because to me that seems like it is a very simple, biological, and even logical desire for human beings. So you may be asking yourselves, Brendan, what does gangster rap, technology, and money all have to do with each other? And let me tell you, they're actually very similar, because they are all being criticized by our society, despite the fact that they could actually encourage societal growth. Now, you may disagree with everything I have just said. In fact, I could even be wrong. I could be wrong. It could be that gangster rap is bad. Technology is bad. It could be that, money is bad. But that's not the point of my speech. You see, the point I'm trying to get across is we should question these things as students, and Freedom Shrine provides us the opportunity to question things. So why haven't we been doing this? You see, this is exactly why I find Daniel Tosh to be an innovator, because he is able to talk about these things without being condemned for them. So therefore, my answer to the problem of Freedom Shrine is that we need more Daniel Toshes up on this stage. And the sooner we realize this, the sooner we will see more societal growth. And for that, I thank you.